1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, I'm just checking in. This is Patty Wade.
Hi, Patty.
I'm going to mute myself again because I've got a puppy here.
Hello, this is Commissioner McCurdy.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, William McCurdy joining the meeting.
You guys ready? Governor, I think we're ready.
Okay, good morning. I would like to call today's meeting for the Nevada Commission on Homeland Security from March 30th, 2021 to order. If I could ask to take the roll and go from there.
All right, thank you, Governor. Governor Fiscal.
Here.
Sheriff Joseph Lombardo,
Present.
Sheriff Darren Balaam,
Present.
Officer Lisa Christensen, Mr. Todd Fasulo,
Present.
Mr. Mitch Fox,
Present.
General Frank Gonzalez, Dr. Ikram Khan,
Present.
Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall,
Here.
Chief Charles Moore,
Here.
Mr. Richard Perkins,
Here.
Chief John Steinbeck,
Here.
Ms. Rosemary Vasiliadis,
Here.
Ms. Patricia Wade,
Present.
Mr. Bill Welch,
Here.
Director Karen Burke, Mr. Gonzalo Cordova, hi, Mr. Cordova, are you on the line? We'll move forward. Mr. Chris Ibsen, Chief David Fogerson,
Present.
Commissioner William McCurdy,
Present.
Mr. Sean Romeyer, Mr. Aaron Rouse, and Samantha Laddick. Here. Governor, you do have quorum.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2, this is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the commission on any item on today's agenda, please identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody on the phone?
Governor, it does appear that we have some people on the line at the moment, but I'm not sure if they need to do public comment or not.
Okay, do we have anyone wishing to participate in public comment on the phone? Anyone for public comment? Do we have any written public comments submitted?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing and seeing no one, we'll close public comment, move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion? Are there any corrections to the minutes, or do we have a motion?
Dr. Khan, for the record, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Dr. Khan and seconded by Mitch Fox. If when you make the motions or the seconds, if you could identify yourself for the folks taking the minutes, it would be a lot easier. I'd really appreciate that. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion passes. Moving on, item number 3, report on the statewide adoption of the National Incident Management System for discussion only.
Governor and Commissioners, Dave Fogerson, Chief of Emergency Management, Homeland Security for the state of Nevada. Quick report on our progress on the adoption of the National Incident Management System. We've been working diligently through the years, but this year we've made a couple of progresses since our last meeting. We've had a statewide group meet to develop a plan and produce that for our local governments so that they understand what NIMS compliance means in Nevada. And that group has met and is working on developing that plan to push out. We've also taught many NIMS classes. We're one of the few states in the nation still doing classes in the middle of the pandemic. And of course, we're meeting all the COVID rules for it. We've had some great community partners in our casinos offering us larger event rooms to make sure we have social distancing involved so we can continue on the NIMS process. And we've also engaged a contractor to actually work on a NIMS preparedness framework for us. We have a lot of frameworks for the other items, but we don't have a preparedness framework. So the contractor will start working on how to put together all the goals and objectives together so everyone understands where we're going. And that's the end of my report unless you have a question, sir.
I do not. Does anyone, any commission member, any commissioners have a question regarding the report? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, update on the federal fiscal year 2021 Homeland Security Grant Program process. This is also for discussion only.
Governor and Commissioners, Dave Fogerson again, your emergency manager. The State Homeland Security Grant Program, the grants closed last night at midnight. We do have 54 applications with about $11 million worth of funds being asked for. We have about $10 million worth of grant funds for this year, an increase from $300,000 from last year. Just for some perspective, in 2020, we did have 73 applications. So we've had fewer applications this year, and we had about $13 million in asks last year. So we've had fewer applications and fewer dollars asked for this year. So hopefully the process goes a little smoother and quicker just because of that. The Resilience Advisory Commission next week will review these grant applications along with DM staff. DM staff's looking for compliance and ways to improve the grant application, while the Resilience Advisory Commission starts the review process that starts with starts with the Resilience Committee, then goes to Committee on Finance and comes back to this body, the Homeland Security Commission. Our goal is to have NRAC rank those projects by end of April, so that way we can continue to move forward and then go to the Committee on Finance to review those grant applications, see if they agree or disagree with NRAC, make the adjustments, and then present the final ranking to this body to see how everyone feels about those grant applications. So the process is moving along very quickly, as it always does. FEMA and DHS always release all their grants at the same time. So we have 3 different grant programs that are all open. And not only are their DM staff working very hard on those grant applications, our local partners and our nonprofits to get all those grant applications through the process. And I believe everyone has had a copy of the grant application timeline and what we're working for to make it all work, because we do have to have by May 14th it all submitted back to the federal government. Any questions? I'll take at this time. It's in my report, sir.
Do we have any questions as it relates to this report?
Yes, Chair, this is John Steinbeck.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yes, Dave, I just wanted to know with the minimum requirements that the grant is requiring, both the SHSP and the UASI grants, does it look like our applications were going to meet those minimums? You know, the cybersecurity and the other 3?
Dave Fogerson with the Record App Chief. So the requirements of the federal government this year, we have to spend 7.5% for enhancing cybersecurity, 5% protection of soft targets in crowded places, 5% for enhancing information intelligence sharing, which really is the Fusion Center model, 7.5% to combat domestic violent extremism, and then 5% for addressing emerging threats. And from our initial review, we feel comfortable that most of the projects will fit into that. And that'll be where we go next with them. Just closing last night, we haven't done a full review of them, but initial discussions of knowing what projects were coming in, we felt good that we'd be able to meet those items. So that'll be something we'll be looking at with the Resilience Advisory Commission next week.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further questions? Anybody? Okay, we will accept the report and move on to item number 6, recommendation on the amendment of strategic capacities to be maintained for the federal fiscal year 2021 Homeland Security Grant Program. This one's for possible action.
Governor and Commissioners, Dave Fogerson, your emergency manager again. We looked at these last meeting as well, and at the last meeting, it was asked to go back and take a look at them a second time. And so these strategic capacities started with the Nevada Resilience Advisory Committee, providing some advice and counsel. We took it to the Committee on Finance, brought it to Homeland Security Commission in, I believe, December, and then took it back to the Finance Committee, back to the Nevada Resilience Advisory Committee, and now back here today. So everyone's had 2 bites of the apple of this one. And the strategic capacity maintained are what we really look at as the above the line for these are the projects that we've determined in Nevada are essential to our Homeland Security, and we must be able to fund these projects. And the only change made by the Committee on Finance and the Resilience Advisory Committee from the grouping that this committee or this commission reviewed in December was we added a new section called emerging capabilities, trying to recognize with our federal partners that there are additional things besides the items that we need to sustain, but there's items we need to look for the future. And our previous version this commission looked at had two emerging threats. One was public health, healthcare, and emergency medical services. And this was put on here by NRAC, really looking at the disaster medical assistance team in Southern Nevada and how we beef that up to make it help better for not only pandemics, but also for any terrorism activities. And then the second part of that was there's a component on here for voting and election security. After review of the federal guidelines for what they're looking for, we felt that the voting security items were covered well enough in the cybersecurity. And so the Committee on Finance and then NRAC both voted to remove that, but leave the rest all intact as we've seen it before. I've spoken with the Secretary of State staff to make sure that they are comfortable with that being removed, knowing that they can still put in the grant application, doesn't affect their standing at all, and they were comfortable with that fact. And so the recommendation from the Division of Emergency Management is that we would adopt these as presented, and then everyone's seen them twice, and they've gone through and they're consistent between all three groups.
Does that complete your explanation, presentation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Chief Ogerson on this one? Do I have a motion?
Dr. Khan, so moved.
Do we have a second to the motion?
John Steinbeck, I'll second.
We have a motion from Dr. Khan, seconded by Chief Steinbeck. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on, item number 7, public comment. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody on the phone for public comment? Okay, is somebody not muted, or is that somebody wanting to speak for public comment? Do we have any public comment on the phone? Do we have any members wishing to make public comment? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mitch Fox, so moved.
Oh, that was a quick one for you, Mitch. As soon as right in there. Do we have a second on that motion?
Patty Wade, second.
Seconded by Ms. Wade. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, everybody. See you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.